Business Live today.
Welcome once again to the program. The International Development Association, IDA, has allocated $2.5 billion for the development of private sector initiatives in Africa to enhance private sector competitiveness on the continent. The assistance, known as Private Sector Window, was created to mobilize private sector investment in IDA member countries with a focus on fragile and conflict-prone areas. The World Bank made this known on the sidelines of the ongoing 2017 Development Finance Forum in Africa. Innovative ways to improve upon the energy situation for the private sector companies in Africa were also discussed. Ebenezer Sapute has more in this report.
2017 Development Finance Forum is the third in series of annual events organized by the World Bank Group and some development partners in Africa. Its aim is to bring together stakeholders that can transform the risks in private sector development for African countries. Addressing journalists after the opening session in Accra, Vice President of the World Bank Group, Axel van Trotzenberg, explained the earmarked funds of $2.5 billion from the group will help private sector businesses to overcome obstacles in expanding the operations on the continent.
There is one part is for the public sector to support, and then the other part is the private sector. The good thing is that we have not said exactly where we need to invest on the private sector. The private sector knows best, but we certainly would like to be very proactive in supporting that. So wherever we could be supportive. Now also the World Bank Group thinks we need to do that with the governments, but I think there are also other partners out. There's the African Development Bank is going to be a strategic partner, and others. So I think what we need to look at is really at the coalition of different organizations, how we can make it happen, because that's ultimately the test for the population, whether we succeed or not.
The African Center for Economic Transformation, ACET, is partnering the World Bank Group to make the funds available to the beneficiary countries. President of ACET, Dr. K.Y. Amwako, highlighted to Joy Business accessibility of the earmarked funds.
Since each country will have to come up with its own programs and projects, the private sector window, it comes as part of the IDA, okay? So normally IDA has been concessional funding from the donors through the World Bank. And the idea of the private sector window is to use some of that funding that will come with IDA to be able to attract private sector investments into specific projects.
So how are SMEs going to be able to benefit from this?
Well, I guess it has to be every country's specifically will have to come up with its own programs, and given its own programs, and the bank and the bank and the government will have to see which sectors. But the key role is for the bank, the government in particular, to provide the enabling environment, the incentives, the investment climate, all those things we talk about, macroeconomic stuff, so that the private sector can feel and go into some of these sectors.
Finally, do we have any allocated funds for each country in this?
No. There's nothing allocated for us.
The 2017 Development Forum builds on the two previous events held in Rotterdam and Dublin. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia will close the two-day event on Thursday.
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo says all internal customs barriers in the country will be removed by September this year. This, he says, would enhance internal trade as well as make Ghana a business-friendly country and position her as the best investment destination for private sector growth. President Akufo-Addo disclosed this in his remarks at the opening of the 2017 Development Finance Forum organized by the World Bank and the Africa Center for Economic Transformation. The president also reiterated the commitment by government to begin paperless operations at the port soon.
Effective September the 1st this year, clearance of goods from Ghana's ports will be 100% paperless. And secondly, all internal customs barriers in the country will also be removed to facilitate the movement of goods. As part of the process of formalizing the economy, we will implement a digital property addressing system for Ghana this year and also issue biometric national identification cards to residents this year so that every resident will have a unique identification number. My government has also moved quickly to address the energy supply constraints by tackling the financial challenges of the sector, as well as defining a policy framework that would encourage private sector investment. We will very soon issue a $2.5 billion United States energy sector bond to retire the legacy debt in the sector, of the energy sector, and create space for increased investment in the sector.
In other news tonight, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is insisting fresh bonds being issued will not end up in drastic increase in the public debt. This follows criticisms that the 3-year bond that will be sold this week together with the 10-year energy bond would balloon the public debt, which has reached 127 billion cedis. But speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of the World Bank Development Finance Forum, the minister said what government is doing would rather end up in reducing the debt.
What we are talking about really is anywhere between $2 and $3 billion US equivalent. In the end, I think like A, the capping of the earmark funds, like B, the reprofiling that we did 6 weeks ago, and this goes to the heart of resolving some of the institutional and legacy issues that we need to
Honorable, is your reprofiling on track? Because some are also worried that these bonds would push up the public debt.
No, they are net neutral. I mean, we are not adding the stock to it. With regards to, let's say, the energy bond that we are thinking of, it's taking receivables that we have legislatively locked in to be able to support that. So you are not creating sort of any new responsibility.
So it will indirectly go a long way to reduce these debts?
It will go a long way to create efficiency so that we will not have to come to the market as often as we do now.
Well, meanwhile, government has started engaging investors over its proposed 3-year bond, which opened today, actually. That's Wednesday, May 31. But what would be the cost of this on government's rising public debt, which has reached 127 billion cedis as at March? Jojo Afe has more.
Investors have till tomorrow to submit the amount it wants to lend to government and at what cost or interest expected from the state. Government will, together with the 3 institutions that have been appointed to manage this process, that is Barclays, Stanbic and SAS, will tomorrow afternoon agree on the interest that they should pay to these investors. Joy Business understands government is likely to settle on 17 to 18.70% as the expected interest to pay to these investors. Because of the process being used, it is difficult to know the exact amount government is hoping to raise during this offer. It is also not clear for now what government is going to use proceeds of this offer for. But analysts fear it could go a long way to increase the public debt, which has reached 127 billion Ghana cedis as at March this year. However, Deputy Minister of Finance Kuku Kwarteng is insisting measures being instituted will go a long way to reduce the public debt. According to the bond calendar, about 40 billion Ghana cedis would be raised through bonds and treasury bills for the first half of this year.
Now, government failed to meet the revenue target for the first quarter of this year. Fiscal financial data released by the Finance Ministry showed government was about 2 million cedis down from what it had projected. Now, the following business desk has more on this unfolding story.
According to figures covering government operations for the first quarter of this year, the marginal drop in revenue can be attributed to the inability of the various tax types to meet its targets, but with the exception of VAT and tax on oil companies. This has already resulted in concerns being raised about government meeting its end-of-year target of 43 billion cedis and whether it was prudent for it to go ahead and remove some taxes this year. Persons close to the tax authorities are optimistic of meeting the targets, insisting revenue doesn't normally perform well in the first quarter. However, on the expenditure side, there was something to smile about as it ended the first quarter spending 11.4 billion against the 12.8 billion cedis target. The numbers show the government money to keep its expenditure on total compensation and wage within target and not even spending all that was projected, a development that some analysts have said could mean that the state might already be winning the war against rising wage bill and expenditure.
The Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, is entreating Ghanaian businesses to take full advantage of the opportunities created by numerous foreign investors who have chosen Ghana and other parts of Africa as their business destination. The Chief Executive, Yofi Grant, wants local businesses to strategically position themselves to partner investors, particularly those in government's flagship programs such as the One District, One Factory. He was speaking at the maiden business partner dinner session organized by the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry Ghana.
The African market by 2025 will be almost a 1.5 billion population market. So that's very attractive. The interesting thing too is that quite a significant number in that population are under the age of 35. And with Africa gradually increasing its share of middle class, the suggestion is a very attractive market over the next 10, 20 years. And so a lot of the Emirati companies are looking to take advantage of this market by looking for countries that can be development hubs for them. And I believe that Ghana is well positioned to be an industrial hub for the sub-region, the West African sub-region, as well as a financial hub for mobilizing capital into the sub-region. And so for me, the opportunity is almost glaring. And as we go out there looking to transform our country and with all the opportunities of the One District, One Factory and the need for capital, it's an easier market to tap into. They are ready, we are ready. So I think it's a match made in heaven that we need to take advantage of. I think agro-processing presents a very good opportunity. There are quite a number of countries, there are quite a number of companies in Dubai that are into the agri-processing space. They also have a lot of companies in the textile space. But even more interesting is that they've developed the expertise and the capacity in tourism that we need to also learn and take advantage of.
Now, a new survey by governance think tank Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, has revealed a cross-section of Ghanaians want President Akufo-Addo to focus on fighting crime. The survey was conducted to assess whether the expectations of Ghanaians meet the policies and priorities of the government. Now, 37.1% of the 1,641 people interviewed said they expected the NPP-led administration to address issues of security and promotion of personal safety. Senior economist Dr. Eric Osei-Sibe says those issues are also top on the list of expectations from Ghanaians.
It is about, little more than a quarter of the respondents actually think that government should spend much more time creating jobs. And so that really has implication on the MPP's own manifesto and the budget, which says sowing for growth and job creation. And so that here, people appears to be going along with that kind of viewpoint. And so the expectations on government to create jobs for the people is really very high. The majority of the people, though not the overwhelming majority, 51.9% think that free government should make sure that the free senior high school education is a priority for the year. But you could see that that is just about half of the population. And then we also have quite significant number, about 34.3%, think that government should concentrate rather on the quality of education. Such a person.
So you had the economist Dr. Ransford Jampu speaking about, rather Dr. Eric Osei speaking about the latest survey by the IA showing that job creation and education are paramount to Ghanaians. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back.
Business Live Today.
Welcome back to the program. Time now for the Joy Business Van. And well, wine consumption in Ghana has increased over the years, and it is projected to see an even further rise in the coming years. Now, wine importer Nana Team is taking advantage of the market to import some of Africa's best wine brands. The Joy Business Van follows him on his wine search in Cape Town, South Africa.
South Africa is currently the world's 8th largest wine producer. South African wine has a history dating back to the 17th century, with Constantia, a vineyard near Cape Town. Its vineyards account for 4% of global wine output, and production continues to increase. Here in Ghana, wine consumption is on the rise due to increasing social trends and the perception that wine is healthier. Wine lovers are being exposed to different brands thanks to the likes of Nana Team, owner of Liquid Wine Enterprise. He's in Cape Town, South Africa on his regular wine search. Nana didn't start off as a wine importer.
My mother started, and you know, she was doing it, and then one day she just asked me if it's something I could help her with, and I said okay, sure. And that kind of developed, and before I knew it, I had my own company, and now I'm importing myself. I grew up in Paris, in France, and so pretty much drinking wine every dinner. So I'm used to wine. So it was something which when it happened, it was pretty much seemed like a logical progression.
The entrepreneur, whose initial goal was to be a music and film producer, identified a good opportunity when the business was handed to him. He journeys to Cape Town every now and then in search of some of the world's best wines.
I have been pretty much everywhere. Western Cape, Wellington, Paarl, Franschhoek, Stellenbosch, all the wineries and wine farms on the wine route. The wine route is the main route which takes you along the Western Cape through all the popular and independent also wine farms.
His job is to taste the different brands produced in the over 500 wineries in South Africa.
How do you determine which wine tastes good?
That wine is like it's a personal thing, you know. I may like a Merlot and someone else may not. So someone may have a taste for Pinotage, so it's not easy to really know. But generally on the market, you know, there are 4 major red wine types, which is Pinotage, Shiraz, Merlot, and Cabernet Sauvignon. And in Ghana, we tend to prefer the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Merlot. So generally, if you are looking for good wine for the Ghanaian market, you would go in for those two.
For 5 years, Nana has been in and out of South Africa on wine tasting missions and to network. Once he discovers the wine brands that would suit the Ghanaian market, he gets them imported into the country. But his work doesn't end just there.
Everything I do in terms of spreading the wine is very manual. It's very, you know, word of mouth, going around from hotel to hotel, restaurant to restaurant, retailer to retailer, and just introducing samples to them and just, you know, pushing the wines onto them and just trying to get them onto their list or into their stores. So it's quite a challenge in that sense, but it's fun because at the same time, you know, you are building a lot of business relationships as you're going round and round. And the more you do that, the more people get to know of your products, and then the more you sell.
Nana Team's aim is not only to become the #1 importer of South African wine,
he wants to introduce a wine culture too.
Let me just say, wine is excellent with our Ghanaian local food. That's something which I'm trying to really educate the customers and clients about. If you have your solid bowl of fufu and soup, bankru, kenke, yam, whatever it is, try it with a good glass of red wine. It goes very well. And if we get into that culture, we will really enjoy wine, which is also good for your health.
The grape, red or white wine category leads the market in Ghana, accounting for more than 70% of the total wine market. Local wine processing is still underdeveloped and costly, so most wine lovers tend to import from countries such as South Africa, whose products are inexpensive and of good quality. Meanwhile, Nana has just concluded networking with some potential business partners. That's it for the Joy Business Van. We're taking a short break. We're back with our interview of the day.
Interview of the day.
Now, the Ghana Chamber of Mines is making a case for government to engage more with industry players in the mining sector to ensure the menace of illegal mining is fully brought to an end. Now, President of the Chamber, Kwekwado Kufuor, has been speaking to Joy Business at a mining conference in Accra.
We brought together all stakeholders to discuss what to us is a very important national issue.
So what were some of the key concerns raised by most of these industry players in the mining sector, especially with regards to issues of illegal mining?
Well, I think the questions which came up focused on whether government's approach is right, whether it's sustainable, and how we contain the challenges going forward.
The Deputy Minister in charge of Lands and Natural Resources has, emphasized the fact that government is going to be, considering whether or not to extend the 6-month moratorium placed on small-scale mining. What's your concerns on that?
Well, I think the duration must have been set with good reason. I think the important thing for me is that we evaluate the entire small-scale mining framework, regulatory framework, and look at how to improve it and ensure that such mining activity is sustainable going forward. And the Chamber is prepared to support government and after moratorium support the small-scale sector in improving the way they operate. So we want to be a partner in this.
All right. Finally, the fight against illegal mining, is government winning this battle?
I think government is doing the right things. It's not going to be an easy fight, but I think successes are being chalked, and as a nation we don't have a choice. We've got a choice between this and losing our rivers and forests and livelihoods. So there's no choice. We really have to win it and put in place a sustainable framework, but which considers alternative livelihoods for those impacted.
Interview of the day.
And thanks as always for making a date. That concludes Business Live tonight. We are back same time tomorrow. My name is Darryl Kwao. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.